Hey everybody, welcome to Pack 1 Pick 1 number 224 on the Mana Leek. I'm John as always, and we have another pack of Theros Beyond Death, a set that has put me through some stress for sure. I'm not quite getting a handle of this format, but I think I know how to draft it. Luck just hasn't been going my way to an extent. But we're going to open this pack up, see what's in it, and see what we would take Pack 1 Pick 1 if this was a draft. Now over at patreon.com/themanaleek, you can become a backer at the $5 level or above. If you do, you get your chance to get all the cards, none of the cards, some of the cards out of these packs each week, whatever you happen to want. And this week, this pack is going to Michael L. So let's crack this open, see what we would take Pack 1 Pick 1 if this was a draft. Up first, we have Sunmane Pegasus. Sunmane Pegasus is 3 and a white for a creature Pegasus. It's a 2/3 with flying, pay 1 and a white. It gets Vigilance and Lifelink till end of turn. Totally fine finisher. It's not a massively exciting card, though. We're never really first picking it. Up next is Nyxborn Seaguard. Nyxborn Seaguard is 2 blue for an enchantment creature, Merfolk Soldier at common. It's a 2/5 with flavor text. If you're trying to get some blue devotion for some reason, there's a couple of reasons. This is a good thing. If you're trying to get Constellation, this is a fine thing. It's not a first pick, but it's a card that you do just have to play some amount of the time. Up next is Thrill of Possibility. Thrill of Possibility is 1 and a red for an instant at common. As additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards. It's not as good here as it was in the deck in Throne of Eldraine. Unfortunately, the blue-red deck just kind of sucks in this format, and this is where this card would be at home. If you do find yourself in that because you're in a paper draft or a pod draft or something like that, it's an okay include, but this is never a first pick and never a card that we're really looking to play anyways. It's red. It's the worst color in the format by a little bit of a ways. Up next is Triumphant Surge. Triumphant Surge is 3 and a white for an instant at common. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. You gain 3 life. I like this in the sideboard only. There are just enough decks out there that just don't have targets for this, that it could just be a completely dead card in your main deck. So keep this in your sideboard and never first pick it. Up next is Omen of the Dead. Probably not our first pick so far. I think Sunmane Pegasus is the best of this mediocre bunch. Omen of the Dead is a single black mana for an enchantment with flash. When it ETBs, you get to take a creature from your graveyard back to your hand, and you can pay 2 and a black and sack it to scry 2. All the omens are pretty darn good. This is not a first pick one, whereas I might first pick an Omen of the Sea, and I would consider first picking an Omen of the Forge as well, obviously in bad packs. Omen of the Dead, I can't imagine this pack's bad enough to first pick it. Up next is Nyxborn Colossus. Nyxborn Colossus is 3 green for an enchantment creature giant. It's a common, it's a 6/7, and it's got vanilla flavor text. Yeah, this one's even worse than Nyxborn Seaguard. Nyxborn Seaguard, you just have to play X amount of the time. It's just fine enough. This one, I just never really see a reason to play it. It doesn't have trample. You're putting 6 mana into something that dies to 2 mana removal with revoke existence and return to nature. There's just too many downsides to this card, not enough upsides. You can do better than this for sure. Up next is Inspire Awe. Inspire Awe is 3 and a green for an instant at common. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, except combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creatures and enchantment creatures, scry 2. Unfortunately, as much as you can try to build your deck so that this is a one-sided fog, you don't get to control what your opponent has on their side of the battlefield, so they may have enchanted creatures or enchantment creatures, and this may just not even be one-sided. Yeah, this is a bad card. You should just flat out never, ever, ever play it, and certainly not a first pick. Up next is Flummoxed Cyclops. Flummoxed Cyclops is 3 and a red for a creature Cyclops. It's a 4/4 with reach, which everybody forgets about. Whenever 2 or more creatures your opponents control attack, Flummoxed Cyclops can't attack this combat. This is an okay card, but it's definitely in the filler category, not a first pick. Up next is Unknown Shores. Unknown Shores is a land. You can tap to add colorless mana, pay 1, tap, add 1 mana of any color. If you are desperate to fix, okay, you can play this card, but you still just really, really shouldn't. It's the worst way to fix your mana. It's filtering mana. It is not fixing your mana. You're going to be behind curve. I just hate Unknown Shores. I never want to play it, and we're obviously not first picking it. Well, we got saved. I thought we were going to go through the commons without a card that we would even consider taking, and here we have the card we're probably going to take. Final Death, 4 and a black for an instant, exile target creature. It's unconditional instant speed removal. It's fantastic. We're going to first pick this unless the rare is just nutty. Moving into the uncommons, we've got ourselves a giant glare on that card. I guess let's keep it over here. Dreamstalker Manticore is 2 and a red for an enchantment creature Manticore. It's a 4/2. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, Dreamstalker Manticore deals 1 damage to any target. I always assume that this is a constellation trigger, and I don't know why. The card's okay. A 4/2 for 3 is not my favorite stats, but it will do work in an aggro deck. And if you do happen to ping a target, cool, but you're probably not going deep on it. It's just not a first pick card, and not a card that I'm terribly excited about, in part because it is red. Eutropia, the twice favored, is 1 green-blue for a legendary creature human wizard. She's a 2/2 with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That creature gains flying until end of turn. Eutropia is amazing. Definitely a huge payoff. Arguably could even be a rare payoff for green-blue. Great card. I would consider first picking it if Final Death wasn't here, but Final Death is here, so unfortunately Eutropia is not going to get the nod here. We got ourselves a Constellation Daxos Blessed by the Sun. Daxos is white for a legendary enchantment creature demigod. He's a 2-star. His toughness is equal to your devotion to white, so he's at least a 2/2. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. Daxos is fine. If you're mono white, he's obviously very happy at home in mono white. And even if you're white X, it's an okay card. It's not a card that I'm going to jump on. I'm not going to take this as highly as I would take some of the other demigods, but he's fine. He is no Final Death, though. Our rare is another constellation, a Constellation Perforos Bronze-Blooded. Perforos is 4 and a red for legendary enchantment creature God at Mythic. He's a 7/6 with Indestructible, as long as your devotion to red is equal to 5. Perforos is how do I read this? Let's read the text as opposed to trying to say this from memory. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have haste. Pay 2 in a red. You may put a red creature card or an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the end step. Perforos is not very good. I don't think I would ever pick Perforos. 7/6 indestructible creature for 5. Sure, that sounds really good, but the gods are actually relatively hard to turn on. I've seen a fair number of gods in my drafts on my side and my opponent's side. I can barely think of 5 times that the gods were actually creatures. It's actually pretty hard to turn them on. Perforos' other abilities just aren't worth it. Giving your other creatures haste, that's never a card that I want to actually cast. It's a cool bonus if the card was literally free, but it's just an ability that I don't want. And 2 in a red to sneak attack a creature out. If that creature's coming out and dealing some serious damage to my opponent and really hurting them, it probably would have hurt them if I just cast it. And yes, it only cost me 3 mana, but Perforos is 5 mana, so I can probably cast that creature anyways. Nothing about Perforos is good. I don't think I'd ever pick him or ever consider putting him in a deck. In fact, I've had at least 2 opportunities in Sealed to put him into a red deck, and I decided not to. Perforos, you're a fancy looking card, but you're just not any good. So that's going to be a pretty easy Final Death, I think. Obviously, if this has some value attached to it and you're at F&M or something, you could pick it, but the correct pick, I believe, is definitely the Final Death. Let me know what you've taken in the comments down below. Would you have taken that Final Death? Do you think Perforos is better than I think it is? Are you just going to avoid black and go into green-blue instead? Let everybody else fight over black? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me over on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. You can find me at patreon.com/ShamanLeek if you want to become a backer and have your chance to get all the cards, some of the cards, none of the cards out of the pack each week, like who was it this week? Who did I say? Like Michael L. But if you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.